You're watching Global Trade This Week with Pete Mento and Doug Draper.
Good afternoon, everyone. A day late and dollar short to Global Trade This Week. Brought to you by our good friends at Cap Logistics. If you're wondering why we're a day late, it's time to throw somebody under the bus this week. And guess what? It's not Doug. And it's not Pete. No, it is the young, beautiful, he's got the beautiful flowing hair. That's right, it's Keenan. It's Keenan, everybody. We're a day late because Keenan had to be at the nuptials of his sister. Couldn't make it back in time. I'm thinking he must have partied too hard. What do you think, Doug?
I don't know what to think on that one. I'm just going to leave it at that. But I guess driving across Nebraska would be quite the party. So maybe he was.
I don't think I've done the drive and the hinterlands of Nebraska back to Colorado. It's about as exciting as it sounds. Like, I was going to try to come up with a metaphor there, but I don't think there's anything I can come up with. That is a soul-crushingly, mind-stifling, boring drive, Doug. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How you doing, buddy? You having a good week?
I am. I'm having a great week. I told you I'm a little fired up today. Part of it's weather-related. Here in Colorado, we can't get out of the cycle of cold weather. We're supposed to have rain and snow tonight, and it's April 27th. Like, WTF, it's supposed to be sunny all the time here. So I'm a little fired up, so look out.
Every time I come to visit you guys, you complain about how dry it is. It's like old man conversation, that, we're still having that drought. We could use some more rain. And everybody talks about it like that. Is this going to be another one of those Colorado springs where you all stand around and wish it rained more?
No, this one's looking pretty good. This one's looking, as far as weather, we got enough moisture going on. I think we're set for the summer.
All right. Well, we gave Keenan some homework. First four Black Sabbath records. I told him I'm desperate about this. He saw the Black Sabbath t-shirt. He said he's listened to Sabbath. I need him to dedicate himself to the first four chapters of Sabbath because that is like a testament to rock and roll. So I need him to come through. But anyway, I'm getting on a tangent, and I know that everyone gets angry when we go too long here. Doug, it is time for us to kick off Global Trade This Week, brought to you by Cap Logistics. Hit me with your best shot. What's number one this week, pal?
All right, man. Remind me, I got some things to say during our halftime show. So
I got some things to say this week, Pete. I got some things to say. I
got some things to say. So this one, I don't know if folks have been hearing about a rubber shortage. We talked about the you talked about the semiconductor shortage maybe a month ago. So apparently there's a rubber shortage, and when I heard that, I was like, what? I didn't even think that was a thing, right? But I did a little digging, and here's the deal. The three things that I think have been a common theme when I did a little research on this earlier is that obviously rubber comes from a rubber tree. It's related to bark and sap. Obviously, there's synthetic rubber that's also made, but there is, the rubber tree. I think there was a song about that at some point. But yeah, so here's this things that are popping it. You got climate change and disease, right? I think here in Colorado, there's a lot of pine beetle destruction, and the simple fact that there's disease and the trees are getting hammered, and there's just not enough trees out there. And then you got to factor in capitalism, right? So, and what I mean by that is, some of the challenges that are coming up is China related. Pete, I know you love that that term, but here's the gist, right? So there was the shortage, and when the Chinese economy kind of popped back up late last year, China consumes a lot of rubber, and they kind of got wind there wasn't a whole lot of it to go around, so they just bought a shitload of it, and they kind of cornered the market. So when North America and America starting to come back, they're like, hey, where's our rubber? Sorry, Charlie, it's all in China right now. So you combined that major purchase that China did, all the troubles with the climate and so forth. And that's where we are. So what does that mean? Obviously, you've seen that there's the shortage, so it's going to impact the auto industry primarily. So with the port congestion that hasn't gone away, I saw that they're actually flying rubber. So that kind of jives in with the air freight story that we talked about last week. So obviously, if you fly something, it's really expensive. So just add that to the cost. The short supply is going to take down manufacturing. And we saw that has had an impact on the rental car industry. I don't know if you were aware of that, but if you're taking your family to Disneyland, there ain't no rental cars around, and that's all over the country. So there's going to be a continued impact with that. And there's no quick fix, which has been a common theme with a lot of supply chain challenges, because 7 years to mature a tree so you can pull the rubber off. So I don't know, man. It's going to get crazy. I'm trying to figure out what that thing looks like for the future. But essentially, higher prices, short supply, and you're going to see it in a lot of industries. Lawn and garden uses, bicycles, general manufacturing. So when you start hearing about why is this particular item more expensive or in short supply, it all can roll back to rubber. As crazy as that sounds, but everything's interconnected, my friend. So that's my rant on rubber. What's your take, my friend? What's going on?
Two things that came to mind. First was a mildly related thing. One of the worst jobs I ever had was working on a rubber ship. So liquid latex ship. I don't know if you know this, but to keep it liquid, they actually mix it with ammonia. So the ship, everywhere you go, everything you eat, everything you smell is ammonia. And by the time you get off of it, all your clothes, your hair, everything, like everything you eat, everything, it's ammonia. And it was the best diet plan you could ever hope for. But the second thing, I was wondering, when I saw this come across, shouldn't this be pushing us to recycle more rubber? I don't know if that's, is that something they're thinking about or pushing towards? Is that even something you can do? I don't know if you can do it.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's an angle there, but the fact that some of the research I did when this became a topic, I don't think the word reduce, reuse, recycle was in any of the
Yeah.
of the publications. So either it's not a sexy enough topic to throw out there, or people aren't really engaged in it. So good point. I haven't seen anything on it.
Yeah, because I don't think I've ever really heard people bring it up, right? Like, when my tires are done, I'm always so happy when they charge me my $10 fee to dispose of my tires, like they're doing me a favor. But maybe they're taking that and selling it to some rubber factory and making money on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think the key thing here is that rubber touches a lot more stuff than just tires and belts and hoses in automobiles. And so when you wonder, right, what the hell's going on? Why is this price increased? Why has this commodity in scarce? You got to think about it. And Pete, I was going to throw on that song, the thigh bones connected to the hip bone. I almost had it to underscore how everything is interconnected, and I decided that the last time I tried that, I got a lecture about two types of people that wear sunglasses inside.
Oh yeah.
So I just dropped it.
Yeah. Also, to be very fair, man, do you really want Keenan yelling at us about playing copyrighted material on this thing and him having to figure out how to? I don't want some 13-year-old yelling at us. I got enough dignity in my life, man. Yeah, that's fine. And I think the song you're thinking
enough about rubber. What you got, man? Lock it up.
Okay, yeah. So I have to go from what is probably like a useful and happy story to something pretty sad and dire. Today is the 27th of April for those of you who are watching the recording, and the more we watch the news, the worse the stories and the data and the news that comes out of India gets. There was an article just this afternoon while I was munching on my cauliflower at lunch today that told us that they're expecting that there's probably as many as 500 million cases of COVID right now in India that have gone unreported. That's just unreported. In that they're expecting that the death toll in India will never be known. That because of the way that reports are done, how deaths are reported in India, many people are simply passing away at home. They're passing away in remote villages. They're not passing away in hospitals. And since people are dying, unfortunately, and they're not dying in the presence of a physician, that death is not being reported into the system. As much as anywhere from 30 to 22% of the people who pass away, their death is never recorded in India. And that's in normal conditions. And now, worse than ever. Many people are dying in idling ambulances on their way to healthcare facilities. There is no oxygen to speak of. What would have been sold as a $80 tank of oxygen is now being sold for as much as $1,300 to $1,500 in the black market, and people are just passing left and right. There aren't enough tests. The sheer overwhelming mathematical data of how quickly that this is going through villages and slums, and even just regular families and regular structures is incredible. And as you begin to read that they're expecting this to peak in the middle of May, so we're weeks away from this peaking, it does what we spoke about over a year ago, Doug. It begins to beg questions about supply chain. And you hate to I mean, it makes you feel callous, right? When so much human life is in the balance. But this is a show about supply chains, and it is a show about logistics, and we have to look into that. And as so much of the global supply chain has shifted out of places like China over the course of the past now 4 years, a lot of it has gone to India. And this has caused incredible disruptions, both inbound and outbound in India. It's caused disruptions both from a congestion standpoint, a production standpoint, admissibility, productivity, reliability, resilience, all of it. And it's going to be a long-term, long-standing issue. You have a country of 1.3 to 1.5 billion, depending on whose numbers you want to pay attention to, that's dealing with a rampant virus like this. It causes very dynamic impact on the global economy. And I think it's going to cause a very dynamic impact, a long-term one. It's going to cause a longer tail on how we end up coming out of this virus from a supply chain perspective. And it's going to mean a lot for our industry as a whole, Doug. I think it's going to prolong our recovery coming out of this problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you simply because, the longer tail reference that you just made, I mean, there is a lot of people, a lot of manufacturing, and a lot of reshoring that has transpired chasing labor. And you're right, it's people when they don't have control, and the coronavirus, people don't have control. They do things to have a sense of control. What I can control is what I purchase, where I go, what I wear a mask, because there's ambiguity of what's going on out there. So I think it's going to be a double-edged sword, because you're going to have some people that say, I want to support India. I want to help those people get back on their feet. What can I do as an individual in Denver, Colorado? There's some people who are going to say, I'm going to buy more products from India. And there's some people who are going to say, I don't want anything to do with it. And if my label says India on it, shoes, clothing, apparel, there's a group that will be like, I don't think I want to purchase that. Perceived or real, because of the amount of news and press that's going on with COVID. Like you said, that's neither here nor there. That's my opinion as we look into this and human nature and how people respond. They need something to control. They can control what they put on their body. And if the tag says India in some form or fashion, there could be people that stray away from that. So I think the longer tail example you gave is spot on.
Yeah, I've been going to India for decades, and it's, of all the places that I travel, it is without question my favorite, and a big part of my heart is there. And a lot of my friends are there. A lot of long-time people that I love are there. And the messages I'm getting, the direct messages, the emails, the videos, the direct messages, none of them are hopeful. I don't have a single friend there that has not had death directly touch their family, and it is incredibly depressing. So, anybody who's watching, my heart goes out to you, and we hope that things get better. The dark days seem to have passed here, and we hope that things get better there soon. So, like I said, I had some bad news from my first spot, man, but I know you got fired up today, and this is one of those things like when you reach out to me in your text messages and your emails during the week, and you're all like, this happens every once in a while where it's clear that you have had one espresso too many, and you've just decided that's it. I'm reaching out to Pete, and it's on. It's like, when I've had one too many cold brews and my daughter upsets me and she gets the 5-paragraph long text message I know she's not going to read. But you made some great points recently about some great points. So
Yes.
it's halftime on the Global Trade This Week show brought to you by Cap Logistics. And I think you had some points you wanted to make, Doug.
Yeah, for sure. The dichotomy of you in the backwards hat and the Black Sabbath T-shirt, and then I always seem to have a collared shirt and everything else. So it's always, I'm the yin to the yang, or the we make a good team. But this is kind of going out to our audience, right? And I'm looking directly into the camera on this one. Is that I want people to know that Pete and I just aren't playing grab ass up here talking about stuff to make everybody laugh. Two things. Number one, Pete, you're going to hate me for this, but we talked about BOPIS, buy online, pick up in store, back in November of 2020. There was an article today that said Walmart is pulling out tons of automation because they need the space because people want to buy online and pick up through a drive-through. So the trend is there. And my point, Pete, you and I were talking about 6 months ago, right? So we're forward thinking. The other piece is that, hey, there's been so much port congestion and things are delayed and da-da-da. And you've heard so many people like, give it a couple of months, things will get back to normal this summer. And we talked about that in February, and the answer is no. It is not going to get back to normal in summer. It probably won't even get back to normal in the fall. When there's articles that come out, Pete, I'm going to look down because this is important to me, right? Here's some words being used. March Madness, once in a lifetime, deconstruction, supply chain tsunami. Those are all terms used in our supply chain in the last 72 hours. Now, people don't talk that way unless things are going to continue to be a mess, right? So my point is, people need to listen to what we're talking about. We may joke around a little bit, but we're smart guys. We have perspective, and the things that we talk about are coming to fruition. So when you roll your eyes and say, what the hell are these guys talking about? And I don't care about Black Sabbath or what the weather is in Denver. Look under the levels and the content that we're talking about, and you will see truth, my friend. We speak truth. There you go. That's not much of a rant compared to you, but there it is.
The rant that I got online, I was all fired up for. It was like if we had a flag, you'd be out in the storm waving the flag at the hurricane, right? It was, the number of things that we've predicted that have happened is shocking. Cindy Rosen with Tapa last week, just a week after we had talked about how there were going to be complications in the intermodal deals. Bam, it happens. And then the BOPIS stuff that I could not make fun of you enough for. It is just rampant everywhere now. All the conversations we've had about what's going to happen to online retail, it's happening. All the congestion issues, it's happening. Nearly everything that we talked about with Brexit, it's happening. So the whole point of the show was to talk about things that are an issue for trade, logistics, supply chain management, freight forwarding, customs house brokerage, but to talk about things in the future and to make a stand and try to prepare people for what's coming down the pike. And what's rewarding are the number of times where it's not 50-50, it's not 60-40, it's not even 70-30. I think we're running closer to 80-20 right now, which is pretty rewarding. And we've gone out on a limb on a lot of stuff. So it's nice to see that it's paying off. So we might be a little crazy, but we're also a little right. And it was good to see that. So we're taking a moment, a self-congratulatory moment here in Global Trade this week to break our arms, patting ourselves on the back. Now, I guarantee you that this level of hubris is going to blow up in our face, Doug. We are gonna absolutely screw something massive up, and it's only a matter of time because we have taken a moment to rest on our laurels like Nero. So now the show is going to burn to the ground while I play the fiddle. I wish I could play the fiddle, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. We're out there expressing our topics and concerns and taking what we know and extrapolating it in the future. So not many people are doing that, Pete, so that's okay.
Everybody's a critic. just like Mel Brooks said.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, on with the show. Now that we've had our moment of glory, you go ahead and hit us with topic number 3.
All right. This is just interesting. I came across it the other day. It's a company, it's the South Korean version of Amazon. It's gotten a little bit of play recently. Coupang, C-O-U-P, like coupon, A-N-G, Coupang. It is the Amazon of South Korea. A guy named Bon Kim is the brain trust behind it. He's another Harvard Business School dropout. And here's the funny thing. I went to college with a guy from Deerfield Academy, which is a boarding school out east of Massachusetts. You may know of it. That's where Bon Kim went to boarding school. And the funny thing, on an aside here, we're doing a lot of these today, Pete. I went to University of Kansas. There's 2 people in the history of Deerfield Academy that made the choice to go to University of Kansas. One was Tom Walker, and the other one was his dad. So not many people come out of Deerfield to head to the Midwest. But anyway, Coupang is it's an end-to-end e-commerce platform in South Korea. So the best perspective is the Amazon of South Korea. But here's the deal. I got 5 super quick points, right? Here's the deal with these guys. They're only focusing on their home market of South Korea. They're not trying to do any expansion. They have complete vertical integration, which means they have the warehouse and the delivery. Amazon's going towards that, right? They got the warehouse, but they're talking about, the delivery piece is still evolving. They own their own inventory, right? There's a lot. Now, there's always some that they don't, but the vast majority of the stuff that they're selling, they actually take ownership of, which creates a sense of urgency to push it through. So they're actively trying to sell all their SKUs and pushing incentives for consumer purchases. 24 hours delivery. They're delivering 24 hours a day. And here's the one thing that's only unique to South Korea. 70% of the South Korean population is within 7 miles of one of their distribution centers.
Wow.
Which is crazy. I was doing a little research on this morning. I found that out, and that's a stat that's pretty impactful. And the other piece is they're doing direct hire. They're not doing owner-operators or anything like that. So the guy that's making a delivery in South Korea is an actual employee. So what does that mean? I mean, it's all cool statistics, but here's the take on it. What does that mean for the U.S.? The metro areas in the United States are going to continue to see advancements and some pretty cool stuff that Amazon is going to bring to the table. The U.S. is significantly larger than South Korea. I think South Korea on a map from Colorado perspectives stretches from like Cheyenne, Wyoming, down into the northern part of New Mexico, and just a little bit into the mountains. So it's super small. So a lot of the things that are cool and working are simply because of the size of the country. And there's 51 million people that live in South Korea. So it's a hell of a lot of bodies in a very small confined space. The other thing that I think of is that there's going to be some private label stuff coming with Amazon. I think they've dabbled in a little bit, but I think that ownership of inventory is going to be another revenue stream, and I think that you're going to see some private label coming out of the Amazon market. So there you go. That's my take on Coupang. Have you heard of the company? Do you know anything about them?
I had not until you brought it up, and what it really made me start to think about was, why hadn't Amazon taken all of this power and all of this? Why aren't they hyper focused on the U.S. market? And I know that their march towards global domination has a lot to do with this belief that e-commerce is a new frontier that needs someone to wrangle it, and whoever can get their arms around the most of it first, it's just an incredible prize to win. So there's that. It's like a game of Risk, right? Whoever can get to most of the globe first, even if you don't have an overwhelming majority in one place, you've got an opportunity for global domination if you can handle the supply chain. I get that. But if the world's largest point of consumption is the U.S., you want to talk about a market where if you can get it right, you get it right. But by hyper-focusing on one particular part of the world like that, really knowing the culture, really understanding the needs of those consumers, I think it puts them in a position where I don't want to call them an upstart, but this local homegrown version of an e-commerce dominant player like that, it makes it difficult for outside companies to go in there and really combat them or fight them. You look at when Walmart tried to go into the United Kingdom, They had a difficult time fighting the Asdas of the world because culturally it simply wasn't a fit. And what eventually happened is they had to change their business model to fit with the British consumer. It just wasn't going to work. I went to my first Aldi the other day. I'm on the wrong side of 49, homie. And, I should have been in one of these by now, But ye old girlfriend walks me into an Aldi, and it felt like I was shopping in Germany from the way that the till was set up and everything else. And it was very much that. It was like a Walmart in Germany. It was like a superstore in a small town in Central Europe is what it felt like to me. To everyone else in America, it's like, oh, it's such a fun, convenient way to shop. I'm like, you've clearly never been to the middle of Europe, because this is what it feels like at every grocery store I've been there, So I get this feeling that trying to export the way you buy something in your own country is very difficult to do. And what a company like this has done is it's caught on to that, and it's added the financial pressures of owning that inventory. I think that it'll be fun to watch. I'm just not so sure I'd want to be on the shareholder side of that. It's gonna be nervous, because if I've learned anything in these past 10 years, it's companies like Alibaba and Amazon that when they get up in the morning, if they decide to squash you, that's an awfully big foot to come down on a bug with. So, I mean, they're so big, they can just buy up all the logistics coming into your country if they felt like it. And that's not hyperbole. Like, they could just decide, you need air freight? Well, that's too bad. I mean, we've pretty much just taken up all the space. Sorry. I mean, that's how much volume these guys move. So, we just bought all your brokers. Sorry. I mean, they've got so much money. How do you even compare with that? So good luck to them. I'm all about the underdog, man. You know that. But I don't think I'd want to compete with those cats. That's just me.
Yeah. Good. All right, let's wind this thing down. We got topic number 4. It's in your lap, my friend.
Yeah, so I was on LinkedIn the other day doing an update. My friend Brian Baskin, who's with Seco, who used to be with me at Crane. I feel like I've worked for every freight forwarder until I went out on my own. He was on a podcast with a transportation attorney, and they were talking about port congestion. And I just thought I'd ask him. I said to him, why haven't we considered making a mega port on the west coast of Mexico? Why haven't we just done it? Like, why haven't we said to the Mexican government, we will help fund it, we will send down engineering assistance, we will finance whatever you need to finance, we will provide logistical support, we'll do security, we'll do whatever, right? You want billions of dollars? Blammo! We'll do whatever we need to do, because from what I understand, we need to dredge that port out. That's the biggest problem. And we need to make a more secure intermodal pathway between the two. But wouldn't it make sense to find some part of the western part of Mexico and just build like a megaport, and then create a bonded link between the west coast of Mexico and, like, I don't know, Arizona, or somewhere in that arid part of the west-southwest of the United States, to work as an intermodal pathway? I mean, LA is a goat rodeo, man. And you just said it a minute ago, and I'm going to keep saying it with you. I don't know how to make it better, and I don't think anyone really wants to do what we need to do to make it better. So let's reach out to Mexico and really make an investment and see if they can help us to make it better. Because Canada, they'll do a land survey and find like the bearded turtle, and we'll never be able to do anything there. So I don't know. Maybe Mexico's the right way to do it.
Yeah. Huh. So here's the rebuttal to that is all the things that you just said: megaport, dollars. Let's go. Let's dredge. Let's build it. Part of me says, why don't we just do that in the U.S. Right?
Never.
Let's create more jobs here. Let's do it in the U.S. Now I know real estate in California is a whole nother animal than Mexico, but that would be my retort. Is I love it. You're right. Nothing's going to change. It's going to continue to get worse or the same in California. Why don't we just do that in the U.S.?
Where? Mexico has coastline that's available. I can't imagine we'd find a place to do it in the U.S. And also, Mexico's economy is growing at an incredible rate. It would make sense for them to invest in that infrastructure now as they become a more and more important export economy. There are questions about over-reliance on a southern partner like that from a strategic standpoint, but I'm telling you, man, you get away with not dealing with unions, and there's all kinds of stuff that you could build it right with tunnels and bridges and the things that civil engineers would do if you had a fresh palette to start with, and the things that you'd be able to build right now. Just get the money together, get all these ocean carriers together, and let them build, the Frankenstein of all ports down there. Just dump money into it and do it there. Because in the U.S., it's like I said, the Sierra Club would find some rare butterfly, and we wouldn't be able to add on another couple acres of port. In Mexico, they'd be like, we're going to pump how many tens of billions of dollars of new jobs through here a year? Yeah, that's probably a good idea. And then secure it in an intelligent way. And more jobs means more jobs. And that can only be a positive thing. And it helps to push their export economy, which is something so important right now to that government. I don't know, man. Here I am, sending more jobs to Mexico. Way to go, Pete. Way to really, endear yourself to the people. It's all you do is you push more jobs overseas. No wonder. Death threats, here they come. Yeah. But I just think it's a new way to look at the problem. We can't do it to Canada. I think we've shown again and again that it's harder to do, and the labor cost, it's just not there. But I don't know. I'm just spitballing, man. I'm so frustrated when I have to quote people these outrageous numbers on ocean containers, and I get the numbers back, and I'm like, this is a joke, right? This is a joke. I put less money than this down on a house. This can't be real, right? There's got to be a smarter way.
Yeah. Well, the creative thinking for sure, because it's not sustainable. So I think, Pete, today you talked about exporting jobs to Mexico. I yelled at our audience, and
we talked about mass death. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully we got 2 or 3 listeners left after this week. But you know what? That's what it's all about. So
at least someone's so honest on the internet.
Exactly. So I guess all that being said, we have to thank our audience for listening to us today. We were a day delayed, but that's okay. We'll be back next week, Mondays, 1 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Central. Troy will be with us as always. And all this couldn't have happened without Cap Logistics. They're the ones that push the buttons, put us on air, so we want to thank them. caplogistics.com if you want to check them out. And I think that's a wrap for this week, Pete. Good luck with everything today.
First 4 Sabbath records. Get it in your life.
Done.
Thanks, Doug.